Welcome, wanderer. The firefly has led you here, to a place of rest and gentle stories, of cottages tucked in snow, of bread baking, of quiet magic. Settle in. Close your eyes when you're ready. Tonight's tale, The Snowbound Teapot, begins in winter, with a teapot that never quite cools, and weary travelers drawn toward warmth, quiet magic, and rest. Let's follow the light together. The wind howled across the mountain pass, like a living thing, scouring the snowy slopes with icy fingers that pried into every fold of clothing, every seam of woolen gloves, every hood tied tight against the cold. The two travelers, an exhausted scholar carrying a pack too heavy for her slender frame, and a wandering musician whose flute rattled in its case with every stumble, pressed forward, snow clinging to their boots, white veils of flurries obscuring the pine-forested path. "It has to be just ahead," the scholar panted, peering through the blur. "There's light. Do you see it?" The musician squinted, tapping his flute against his shoulder. "Faint, yes, like a candle flickering through a fog of snow. Or maybe a spirit." "Spirits don't build cottages, though," the scholar muttered, more to herself than him. But, as if in answer, the snow parted for them, revealing the shape of a small stone cottage nestled at the crest of a hill. Smoke curling lazily from a crooked chimney despite the gale. Its roof sagged under layers of snow, and frost glazed the windows, but the warm golden glow spilling through the panes promised sanctuary. The travelers hurried down the slope, boots crunching and legs aching, until they reached the cottage door. Snowflakes clung to eyelashes and hair, dripping from hoods and scarves, but the light, warm and steady, wrapped around them like a welcoming embrace. A faint sound greeted them when they knocked. A tinkling, a small sigh, almost like a puff of steam. The door swung open before anyone could answer. Inside, the cottage was cozy to the point of magic. A fire crackled in a low stone hearth, sending golden light across walls hung with dried herbs and flowering twigs, dusted with frost. A table, small and round, was set with mismatched mugs, a loaf of bread cooling on a linen cloth, and a teapot that shimmered faintly, as though its metal were warm even in the thick chill of winter. A figure hovered near the hearth, small, with delicate, almost translucent features that caught the light like frost. It wore layers of homespun wool, stitched together in soft browns and muted greens, and moved with careful, almost anxious precision. Its hands, pale and slender, hovered over the teapot, as though afraid to touch it too firmly. The scholar and musician froze for a heartbeat. Then, almost as if reading their thoughts, the figure's voice rang out, soft but clear. "Ah, visitors." It curtsied awkwardly, and the faintest hint of a smile appeared. "Come in, please. Don't mind me. I don't often have company." The musician, whose hands were already numb, set his pack down and stepped inside. "Thank you. We got caught in the storm. The snow came faster than we expected." The figure nodded, eyes flicking toward a hearth. "Yes, the wind likes to sweep down the pass this time of year. You're welcome here. Warm tea, perhaps?" At the word, the teapot shivered on the table, sending a tiny curl of steam curling into the air. The mug nearest the spirit rose a fraction, tilting slightly, and a faint aroma of honey and spice wafted across the room. Both travelers blinked. "What's this?" the scholar asked. The spirit's face colored, though faintly. like frost-tinged roses. "Ah, it's nothing really. The teapot. It tends to, well, it keeps itself warm." The musician frowned, leaning closer. "Keeps itself warm? I don't think I understand." The spirit fidgeted, tugging at the hem of its woolen sleeve. It's a kind of magic. Not very exciting, just always warm, always ready, and, well, it likes when there's someone here. Otherwise, it cools sometimes." The scholar and musician exchanged a glance, half amused, half intrigued. They sank onto a bench near the hearth, shaking off snow, letting the warmth seep into frozen toes and fingers. The spirit poured tea that smelled of cinnamon, clove, and something almost indefinably foresty. The cup's surface wavered like liquid gold, and yet it was not too hot, not too cold. "Perfect. Drink," the spirit urged softly, standing back, hands clasped. "It will warm you." They did, and warmth spread through them, not just in the body, but in the quiet reassurance of the cottage itself. The wind outside shrieked and scraped, but inside, with the fire crackling and the teapot's soft, constant hum, they felt for the first time that they were safe. The scholar let out a deep breath. "It smells like home." The spirit inclined its head, looking down at the teapot with a careful fondness. "Yes, I like it too. It doesn't talk much, but it keeps me company, and I keep it company in return." The musician, resting his elbows on the table, finally let a small laugh escape. "A talking teapot, then?" The spirit winced, as though reprimanded by the word. "It's not talking, just responsive. It listens." They sipped tea in silence, letting the snowstorm rage outside, letting the cottage's warmth settle around them. The room was small, but alive, a shelf sagging with jars of dried herbs. A pan hung above the fire with a thin curl of smoke still rising, wool mittens drying on the back of a chair, a small stack of books tied with string. The scholar, curious, leaned closer to the teapot. Steam twisted from its spout in intricate shapes, like tiny snowflakes dancing, then dissolving into the air. "It really is magic," she whispered. The spirit's eyes flickered, a little embarrassed, a little proud. It is, yes. Not much, not dangerous, but I've always lived here with it. It keeps me company, and I keep it company." For a moment, the travelers simply watched the steam curl. Outside, the storm thickened, snow pressing against the window pane. Inside, the hearth glowed. The teapot glimmered faintly, and the spirit hovered nearby, small but resolute. It was not a grand, sweeping magic. It was a quiet, steadfast warmth, a little ritual in a little room, enough to make anyone who entered feel that, for this hour, perhaps even for the long winter ahead, the world was safe and cozy and alive with small wonders. The scholar sipped again, savoring the spice, the honey, the impossibly perfect warmth. "I think," she said softly, "that we'll stay a while." The spirit's eyes widened, then softened. Yes, please." Outside, the wind roared like a wild thing, but inside, in the warmth of the hearth and the teapot, a small home thrummed with life, and the beginnings of a winter unlike any the travelers had ever known. The storm continued for hours, then days. Snow pressed thick against the window panes, muffling the world outside, and inside, the small cottage became a universe all its own. Era discovered a stack of old notebooks tucked beneath a shelf of jars, filled with recipes, drawings of the forest, and notes about the teapot. It seems someone has been keeping track for years, she murmured. Mira hovered, hands clasped nervously. Yes, Mira whispered. I've been here a long time. The teapot has been here longer. I write sometimes, when it's quiet. Finton chuckled. Do we really need another notebook? I'm not sure the teapot wants more paperwork. But the teapot, in its silent, always watchful way, seemed to respond. Steam curled into tiny spirals, twisting into shapes that looked like quills dipping into ink. Subtle, imperceptible magic. But it made them all smile. Living together revealed quirks in both humans and spirit. One morning, Fintan tried to help with chopping kindling. A log slipped, hitting the hearthstone with a dull thunk. Mira shrieked lightly, darting to adjust the teapot. It's fine, Fintan laughed. I didn't break it. Mira's eyes, wide and anxious, softened. You must be careful. It's fragile in ways you don't see. The teapot, as if responding, steamed a little thicker, curling in tight loops that looked almost like arms hugging itself. The travelers laughed quietly. Another evening, Era accidentally knocked over a cup, spilling tea across the table. Mira gasped, reaching to catch it. But the liquid seemed to rise on its own, swirling back into the cup. Era blinked. It can fix itself, Mira said softly, cheeks flushed. It likes to help. Yet beneath the warmth, there were subtle signs of fragility. One morning, Erin noticed the tea cooling faster than usual. Steam curled weakly, curling into shapes that faltered midair. Mira whispered, It tires. Even in company, it struggles sometimes. Not alone, exactly, but lonely. Era reached across the table. Then we'll stay, all of us. We'll feed it warmth, tell it stories, play music. We'll make it thrive. Finton nodded. Then let's try music again. Maybe it needs song more than warmth. Finton played. Era read stories aloud, and Mira moved about the cottage, tending the fire, arranging blankets, brushing snow from windows. Slowly, imperceptibly, the teapot began to respond. Steam curled into delicate spirals, snowflakes and miniature animals dancing above the mugs. Even as the storm raged outside, inside, life thrummed in warmth, laughter, and fragile, tender magic. Weeks passed, the storm softened, and the mountains glistened white beneath sunlight. Travelers prepared to continue their journey. Mira smiled at the teapot, still steaming and alive, swirling into intricate spirals above the mugs. You've made it through, Mira said softly. Together. And now, I don't fear it faltering so easily. Era smiled. You're not alone anymore. Finton lifted his hand in farewell. We'll return, and maybe next time, the teapot can show us even more wonders. Weeks later, the cottage sat quietly beneath a fresh layer of snow. Inside, Mira tended her domestic routines with ease. The teapot glimmered softly, always warm, always ready. Steam twisted into tiny shapes, snowflakes, foxes, rabbits, birds, dancing gently in the sunlit room. Era and Finton returned for a brief visit. They were greeted by the soft hum of magic, the warmth of the hearth, and Mira's quiet, delighted smile. For a moment, they all sat in silence, sipping tea, listening to the gentle crackle of the fire, letting the calm of winter fill them. Outside, the world was cold and still, but inside, the cottage thrummed with warmth, magic, and care. The fragile, tender magic that only thrives when shared. And the teapot, always steaming, always alive, seemed to sigh contentedly, curling its steam into intricate spirals, a silent promise that no matter how long the winter, there would always be warmth within its little home. Thank you for wandering here with me to this small corner of stories. If you wish to return, you'll always find another light waiting for you. Here, where the firefly wanders.